never really addressed the car as a whole, so what it is, what it has, why it works, why it doesn't blow up. So I guess we'll start outside, work our way in. So it's got a full Vertex Ridge wide body, so that's front, sides, rear, front guards, rear guards, and they also like tie in together, so you can't really mix and match. But yeah, I love that. So sort of like a poster. This was like the old Pepsi car had this kit, so a very old D1 car had this look. It's just the Origin 1600 carbon wing. Stock corky tail lights, clear lenses around, but some of them are missing. It also has matching wheels for once, which is pretty cool. They're ABS 10J plus 18, and they're only baby ones, they're like 8J plus 30. And this is a Sift auto carbon bonnet, actually a really nice bonnet, super light, actually carbon. And corky noise front indicators as well, which you have to get for the Vertex or any aftermarket kit. Ganador mirrors, everyone's favourite. And I think that's about it for outside. Just recently painted in KH2, I want to say, gunmetal grey, the R32 GDR colour. Okay, inside's pretty standard, pretty basic, just a bolt-in Cusco cage, 7 or 8 point, I believe, I don't know. 9330, shirt sucked in shift knob, Grady Profec boost controller that doesn't control the boost because the Haltech does it, but it looks cool and gives me a boost gauge even though I have one up there. 4 defis, 60 mils, exhaust temp, boost pressure, oil temp, water temp, and a Bride, I'm gonna say Zig. It's been a while, but it's, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a Zig, but it's the glitter back. Had this for a few years. HPI 4-point harness, and a fire extinguisher behind the passenger seat that you can't see because the car's all loaded up. And yeah, of course, checkered floor mats, can't forget that. Standard handbrake, just with a button. Yeah, just the necessities. I think this is like a 100mm spacer. Any tall person with an FD, they already know. Alright, probably the hottest topic of the car. It's still a rotary, still just a factory 13B2 rotor. So I'm going to tell everyone the big secret as to how to have a reliable rotary, and it's to have factory OEM 2-piece apex seals. So you can say whatever you want, you can listen to your shop that's doing your car, but that is the secret. That's all of your bendy seals, they're just nowhere near as consistent as these. You can't, under temperature, under load, these are it. I know guys that make near 1,000 horsepower on these. They don't break at X horsepower. If you want something that you can just jump in, turn the key, OEM apex seals. Yeah, that's just the end of the story. I still have the OEMP, the oil metering pump, but I also put in a bit of premix. I'm running, I believe the ratio is 200 to 1. It's 10 litres of fuel gets 50 millilitres of 2-stroke oil in the fuel. So, and that's the secret. So, surprisingly simple, but yet everyone overcomplicates it, blames the seals, blames this, blames that, but OEM 2-piece. Everything inside this engine is OEM. All the seals, all the springs. Only thing that's not OEM is it has turbulone ARP studs through it. Otherwise, all the rotors, all the plates, nothing's been machined, nothing's been balanced. I hand ported it myself, so it's probably not very good. And this has been in here for 2 years, and I've done nothing but change the oil. So I think I changed the spark plugs once, and it was at a point where it was so good that I put an even bigger turbo on. So right now I have a turbulone cast stainless T4 manifold, which is a twin gate setup, twin 45s I believe, and it has a Pulsar G4900. I'm only running fairly low boost because I've still on a single fuel pump and I'm really maxed out. It actually drops a couple of pound of fuel pressure up top, so it's only making about 0.8 bar, so that's like 10-11 pound of boost. And you know, even with that issue, so even with it running at a fuel pressure up top a little bit, it's still reliable. So for everyone that says the OEM seals are fragile, they can't take abuse, you're just wrong. That's just the end of it. The rest of the car, so we have a Blitz front vent intercooler, which also stands the radiator up like a normal car. And I also have a Koyo radiator with twin spout fans. They made an enormous difference on the car. So something unique with drifting is we don't get a lot of frontal airflow. So V-mounts work really good in the grip situation, I believe, because the intercooler gets a lot of air. But when in a drift situation, I've had really bad experiences with V-mount. They just, intake temps go through the roof. And I just find water temp easier to manage than intake temps. And with these cars, in high intake temps, more chance of knock, and knock is like your absolute worst enemy with these. So I would rather control my water temps and just have the intercooler get all the fresh air. But even then, like it's summer now, and we just had a track day, and I can hot lap the car 2 laps and do a cool down lap, and everything's fine. So yeah, different applications, different requirements, I guess. So what else do we have? We have injectors. Injector dynamics primaries are 1050cc, secondaries are 1700cc. So 4 injectors total, and that's pretty much it for the engine. It's literally all standard. It has a DC power alternator, which is sort of required, because alternators in these cars are fairly tapped out from factory. So once you start adding big fans and big coils, you sort of really need a good reliable power source. And I've also got IGN 1A ignition coils. So they're obviously a very strong coil. They can make over 1,000 horsepower. But what's really good with them is they charge very fast. So in between cycles, they I guess with rotaries you have half the time to do everything, because every time the crank turns you make power. So you have half the time to get the fuel in a vertical piston engine, half the time to light the fuel. So you need a strong coil, but you also need a very fast charging coil. That's where a lot of the reliability comes from as well, is having a really good ignition system. And they're obviously direct fire, nothing's wasted spark anymore like factory. And the engine is all run by a Haltech Elite 1500. It's got a pre-terminated harness, so you just sort of lay it out. It's a little bit long and stuff, but it all works really great, no complaints with that. It's got a few safeties set up on it. It's got fuel pressure, oil pressure, the wideband goes to ECU, so obviously safeties for leaning out or going too rich. I think that's about it. Just all the other regular safeties, like coolant temp gets too high or intake temp's too high, and that's all done remotely. So we're in Japan, the car gets tuned all the way in Australia online via Omar at Race Only. He is the person who convinced me to get OEM seals. He's the person that's responsible for this car being so reliable. If you still doubt the OEM seals after all the abuse this car gets, go have a look at his social media, Race Only. You'll see cars making enormous power over and over and over again. So, and that's all OEM seals. So it's a tough thing to buy. Everyone wants to stay with the bendy seals, because if they break, you don't blow your turbo, you don't do this, you don't do that, but they're just not as reliable. If you want a turnkey car, you need OEM seals. That's it. So moving back from the engine, we have the gearbox. So this car runs a Z34 370Z, whatever you want to call it, Fairlady Z gearbox, CD009, CD008, whatever they're at now, I don't know. It's the latest one, whatever that is. It's got we're going to say it wrong, fish conversion, so FISCH, I believe they're a Canadian company. They do a bell housing which has an inbuilt slave cylinder, and they also offer a flywheel. So all you have to do is buy a 370Z pressure plate and disc, and then it all just bolts on. They also make a transmission mount, and it all bolted on, and it hasn't come out of the car. So I don't know, it's perfect. A long time ago I had many problems with gearboxes in an FC, and there was no solutions at the time, and now to be a few years in the future and you can just buy something that just bolts on, it's really cool actually. And yeah, it's made this car. You can obviously put a better tire on it, you can do so much more stuff. And like I said, been in the car for over a year and I haven't had any issues with it yet. The shifter comes out in the stock spot, so it looks like a factory car. I'm not a big fan of the shifter, but that's a common CD gearbox thing. That's not anything to do with the fish kit. That's just when you shorten the shifters, they just feel like crap. That's nothing you can do. Moving back, it's just a modified cut and shut drive shaft. Not the best one, but it works. The diff is, it's a 4.7 ratio out of a Series 2 or Corky or whatever you want to say, RX8. So the manual car's at a 4.7, the auto car's, the manual Series 2 were a 4.7 diff and the Series 1 was a 4.4. So that gear and pinion goes straight into an FD diff, and then it has a Tomei 2-way LSD. And it just has a Grady rear cover that's like a bit extended, holds more oil. Don't know if it actually does anything, but it makes you feel better, so that's good. Stock axles, yet to break a diff, yet to break axles. And yeah, that's pretty much it for driveline. So I guess the suspension, it's just DG5s off the shelf, nothing special. 16 kilo front, 14 kilo rear. Rear arms are KTS, rear lower arm, tension arm, and the toe arm. Upper arm is factory or stock, and the front has all part shop max, which that's in other videos. I don't need to go into detail of that. And that's pretty much it. I can't think of much else. It's just, I really like where it's at now. It's like it's still very much an FD. You can buy FD parts, they bolt on, nothing's too custom. It's really enjoyable. I really like the level that it's at right now.